give us his spin on the world, but many of the leading names in conspiracy theory today have followed in his footsteps. So much so that, in hearing about him, you'd probably think he was the guy behind all those dubious articles you saw on Facebook earlier today. His theories and predictions range from the ridiculously outlandish to the true. Yeah, some of the things this guy predicted really materialized, including his own death. Born in 1943 in California, Cooper joined the military after high school and served in the Navy in Vietnam. It was here he claimed to have seen top-secret documents while working as part of the briefing team under Admiral Bernard A. Clary, who commanded the Navy's Pacific Fleet. According to Cooper, these documents reveal the existence of collusion between the United States government and extraterrestrials to take over the world. Yes, in this video I will be making heavy use of the terms according to, allegedly, and claims, because it is very hard to figure out what is real and what is not in the world of conspiracy, for some people at least. So I will leave what you believe in up to you. Also contained within these documents were a vast array of other alarming government conspiracies. For instance, JFK had not been killed by Lee Harvey Oswald at all, but instead by his driver, using a gas pressure device developed by the aliens. Seems like a lot of work when they could have just, used a gun from a concealed position far away. Regardless, it sure was good of the government to put all these documents together on a boat in Vietnam. When he returned from the war, Cooper knew he had to inform the public about what the government was doing. Well, it's only right. And intended to contact a reporter. Around the same time, he was involved in an accident when his motorcycle allegedly hit a black limousine. This resulted in his right leg being amputated above the knee. In the hospital, Cooper claims he was visited by two men who asked him if he'd learned his lesson, presumably the occupants of the black limo trying to cow him into silence. Cooper told them that he had indeed learned his lesson, but internally he knew the lesson was in fact not learned, and that the information had to get out. By the 80s, Cooper had begun getting involved in the UFO scene, which would be receptive to his claims. Of course, the UFO theorists were mostly concerned with sightings and abductions and the occasional unconsenting probe, but Cooper's theories focus more around the government and their impending world domination than the saucy green boys, adding a new dimension to ufology. He published a number of essays, wrote into UFO magazines, and started giving lectures. It was here he met the owner of a publishing company, who Cooper convinced to publish a book that he would write, detailing all his theories. And so, 3 years later, in 1991, Behold a Pale Horse was published. Here Cooper expanded upon his theory that the government was in contact with an alien race. The world was actually ruled by the Illuminati, who were in turn being controlled by the aliens, and the aliens' plan was to turn a portion of Earth's population into slave labour, and for this to work smoothly, the Illuminati would need to bring in a single global government, the New World Order. The book of course goes into much greater detail and expands upon various other things, but the thing about conspiracy theories is they're usually so complicated and complex, it takes weeks to research the many deep and branching rabbit holes and hours to explain to someone else, so I'll just name some of the theories and concepts if you'd like to look into them for yourself. One world government, man-made AIDS, protocols of the Elders of Zion, the Bilderberg Group, the Knights Templar, Freemasons, Majestic 12, the Trilateral Commission, etc., etc. Maybe I should do a series where I look into individual conspiracies, but for this video I simply just do not have the time to go into all of this. You might think it all sounds crazy, but Cooper does explicitly state his conclusions may be wrong, and his intent is only to convince you that none of us know the truth about this world, and everyone should do their own research and search for that truth. Behold a Pale Horse slowly became an underground bestseller, and Cooper began hosting a show on shortwave radio called The Hour of the Time. As the UFO scene lost popularity, Cooper began to rethink his theories on aliens, and started to suspect aliens were merely a cover story or a red herring for the Illuminati. As such, his theories became even more focused on totalitarian governments and police states. This began to attract the attention of the militia movement of the 90s. One fan of Cooper's being Timothy McVeigh, the Oklahoma bomber. He's come up in a few videos now, I really should make an episode on him. Anyways, after the Oklahoma bombing, FBI agents came to Cooper's house to ask him some questions, as McVeigh had ordered a videotape about the Waco siege from Cooper. I do have an episode on the Waco siege, by the way. Having the FBI show up to his house did not please Cooper, and he was beginning to suspect he was at the centre of some sort of plan to silence him. This, of course, only bolstered his beliefs and furthered his commitment to spreading his theories. You may never have heard of Bill Cooper, but I'm willing to bet you probably think he sounds a lot like some media figure you know of today, when it seems like conspiracy theories are more prevalent than ever. Bill Cooper was like a forerunner to people like Alex Jones. Ironically, the two had a little feud after Cooper said Alex Jones' theories were bullshit. Now, you may be thinking this all sounds like bullshit, but not all of Cooper's predictions were so outlandish. He noticed the rising trend of prescribing drugs like Prozac and Ritalin to kids and teenagers, and worried it would lead to a rash of school shootings, which in turn would be used as an excuse by the government to take away citizens' arms. That was 8 years before the Columbine school shooting. He also predicted a massive tragedy would occur in the US and the blame would be pinned on Osama bin Laden. This would lead to war in foreign countries, bombing campaigns, and increased surveillance on American citizens. That was 2 months before 9/11. Maybe that means we should all seriously consider his more far-fetched theories, or maybe it means a broken clock is right twice a day. Cooper also managed to predict his own death, although that one is a little less impressive considering you kind of have direct control over the outcome. You know, you wouldn't be too amazed if I predicted I'd die a week from now, and then in 7 days I went off to play in traffic. After 9/11, Cooper became ever more paranoid, reclusive, and belligerent. His wife left with his daughters, although Cooper claimed he had moved them out of the country for their safety. He was sure the government was moving for total control, and he would be silenced for his resistance. He had previously believed he was being targeted by Bill Clinton himself, although we all know old Bill was preoccupied with other matters. He now believed the IRS were out to get him, although this was because he didn't pay his taxes, so once again, not really a great prediction there. For his alleged tax evasion, there was a warrant out for Cooper's arrest since 1998, but he had eluded multiple attempts to serve it. Authorities sort of let him get away with it because they knew he wasn't going to go down without a fight. Cooper told his audience that he was aware he was a hunted man and that he was soon going to be shot dead. His house was on a hilltop that gave him a view of incoming vehicles, and Cooper was suspicious of anyone coming up that street. People would often drive up for the view, but Cooper would often accost them, suspecting them of spying on him or trying to intimidate him. Once he followed one of these people home and threatened them with a gun. Allegedly. And this is when the authorities decided they needed to act. The sheriff's office issued a warrant for Cooper's arrest on suspicion of aggravated assault, but again, they were worried about Cooper's volatility. Allegedly. In November 2001, they decided they would draw Cooper out by posing as another annoying group of people around Cooper's property, parking their car not far away and playing loud music. And sure enough, Cooper came out in his truck, but he sensed something was off, and instead of trying to shoo them away as he usually did, he turned tail. The deputies gave chase. Allegedly. When he reached his driveway, Cooper got out of his truck and made for his front door, firing at the deputies and striking one in the head, mortally wounding him. The deputies fired back, and Cooper was struck 9 times and killed on his doorstep, just as he had predicted. Of course, many dispute this version of events and claim Cooper was assassinated. Indeed, his death galvanized his support and cemented his legacy as a martyr. Even his old nemesis Alex Jones would go on to praise him as a genius, saying he looked into his work after his death and found it to be amazing.
And then I listened to Bill Cooper, and it was like incredible stuff about 9/11's coming and like all this really smart stuff. And I was like, God, I know this guy was this smart.
And that's the tale of Milton William Cooper. Whether you think he was a paranoid crackpot or a revolutionary is up to you. Maybe you'll go off and investigate his conspiracy theories in more depth, or maybe you'll dismiss the whole thing as nonsense.